Hello everybody and welcome back to Tlatoani, where I was just looking at our water supply overlay here. And this is interesting, for sure. I was just thinking, can we get our water supply to this well dipper? Maybe. In order to do that, we'd have to move some of these gardens here and put in stone road like this, but we might be able to squeeze that in. That said, I'm not sure if the connection only happens here or if it can happen here. We'll find out if that changes a single solitary thing here. But we'll get that in there, and if we can get the connection down to here, that'd be great. If not, we can put a cistern here, which might reach. I don't know if it would or not, but we could definitely move some of these gardens to find out. And probably move this road as well. So let's see if we can do that. We got to get this prosperity up, but for now, these roads have been built, so let's take a look. This road has not been built here. We're still waiting on that one. Any moment now. There we go. Okay, so we can see that pushed it to here, but it didn't push it this way. Noted. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take these gardens out here. And I'm not sure where the gardener they're attached to is. Probably this one. We could see about putting in some small gardens over here. I don't know where those were attached to. Oh, up here. Okay. Sure, that's fine. Let's get these taken out for now. I'm going to put in another cistern right over here. That theoretically does reach, according to what I'm seeing there. Then we can put an aqueduct there, and then we can put gardens back in over here. Like this. So that's 24 out of 30, 27, 29, and 30. Like that. Okay, so that'll reach this well dipper, which will get us a lot of coverage of good water out over here. Not entire coverage, but good coverage. Then down over here, we can start to think about running aqueduct this way. We'll need to do some chinampa-ing in order to do that. But we can do something like this. And then down over this way, we can have chinampa here. Just make sure this entire section is chinampa'd. And then make sure this entire section is chinampa'd. Plus one more out over here, like that. So then make sure this is chinampa'd and this is chinampa'd. Like that. Okay, that should do the trick for now. And then I'd like to have one more layer of chinampa out over here, like this. So we'll get that underway. The idea here is that we're going to run aqueduct in this way. More chinampa in here is actually necessary, so let's get that done. There we go. And then we can run some stone roads down here like this, and then they can connect with a bridge out to here. And then we'll do a stone road all the way around to here like this. And then we can run our stone road down this way as much as possible right now. We'll need to get some of those chinampas done, of course. But something like that. Okay, so this cistern up over here is now built. So then the question is, are we actually reaching here with water? The answer is no. This has not changed our reach here. That's interesting. I think it's because of this. Yeah. We would need a cistern around here. So that's definitely noted if we wanted to do that. Now, we could put in some aqueducting here or in this row, right? There's nothing stopping us from doing that. But I was hoping that this would actually reach down here. But it doesn't. Because it's not about the building's reach. It's about the piping. And there's not really that much that we can do about it. Other than putting in a basin here. That'll give us some amount of reach out over this way, I think. But it wouldn't be much, really. It's not intended to go in this direction, right? Yeah, this would not be very useful. But what if we put it here? What if we removed these 4 sections of garden and then moved the well dipper to be here. And then we've got a well dipper down here that covers all of these. I think we're still going to have full coverage here. And then we can put the gardens in down over here, right? So the gardens, we've got some space here right now. We'll get that moved. Eventually. There we go. Something kind of like that. And this well dipper should upgrade, theoretically. That's definitely within the range of that cistern. So that looks good. That should become a basin eventually. We will see if it actually does, but it sure looks like the water pipes across these stone canal bridges. So that's good to know. Now our prosperity is at 54 right now. We definitely need to work on that. This collector over here is strained, and we could think about putting another collector up over this direction-ish, maybe around here, to reduce a little bit of that strain. It wouldn't be a huge amount because we don't have crossroads going this way. So we could put it here, and then a second one up over here, and I kind of like that. So let's put that in. We'll get a couple of collectors over that direction. That seems fine. Now we're still working on our aqueducts out over this way, and I do want to continue to work on that. So we'll get these in here, and then we just need this singular piece of Chinampa here, which is at 50% maturity. So we'll come back to that here in a moment. I want to check in on how things are going down this direction. Well, we can definitely get some road in here. I do think we're going to need to move this mason yard, so let's put this over here temporarily, because we're going to need to back off this mason yard a little bit to run this road down like this, right? So that seems fine for now. And these sections of road here should be run all the way down like so. There we go. And eventually this mason yard will get moved. And then we're going to have to move it back. But that's fine for now. Let's check in on our aqueduct up over here. Yep, we can definitely get that finished up. So that's great. We do need stone road in these 3 tiles, so we'll get those in. Perfect. Okay, everything is looking good there for now. Down over this direction, we're definitely seeing these Chinampas be worked on. That's great. Very, very happy to see that. And we haven't moved that mason yard yet. Hopefully we'll get there soon. But we're almost done laying these roads. So that seems good. We're at 57 prosperity now. Okay, this mason yard has been built, but it hasn't been removed yet. There we go. Now it's removed. We're going to do this and then move this back to be right there. Perfect. So that's underway, and then as soon as this section of aqueduct gets built, which will be any moment now, then we'll have this basin upgraded. I want to check in down here. Did this upgrade to a basin? It should be down here. Yes. Okay, so that's delivering us clean water to all of this. Now, this out over here, this is not a basin, but I don't know how we would get a basin in here, to be honest. We'd need a cistern like here, and that would require a huge reworking of what we've got going on. Unless a cistern connected to the pipe network can extend the pipe network. I want to test that. So out over this direction, I'm going to put a cistern in here. I am not going to connect this to the aqueduct. And we're going to probably remove this. But we put that in. You see how it's connected to the pipe network here and here? Will that extend the pipe network and fill up from the pipe network? Or does it have to have an aqueduct connection? It has to have an aqueduct connection. Okay, that's good to know. Let's remove that. Now that we've figured that out, that can definitely help us plan out how we're going to do this. So our prosperity is kind of hanging out at 56. Why is it low? Well, destitution is definitely part of it. But we have lots of jobs available. We have a shortage of workers. So, of course, that means that we should expand our housing somewhat. And where might we want to do that? Well, we could definitely do it out over here. We already have space carved out over this direction for it. So we can put in 3 additional houses over this way. And they are all going to be reached by this basin. We've got these services over here. They've got markets. They've got an alcove. They've got education. It should all be fine there. We'll get that nice and upgraded. Okay. So that seems fine for now. And then we were thinking about expanding our aqueducts down this direction, which was why we chinampa'd all of this. So we can do that, and then we can put in a cistern here, connect that into the aqueduct, and that will upgrade this well dipper. That'll get us better water supply up here, but these guys aren't going to have the upgraded water yet. From there, our aqueduct is going to come down over to here and go all the way around here. Now, this isn't fully chinampa'd yet, and we do need some stone road here, like this, and I think maybe over here as well. Yes. We need some stone road over here. This will need to be stone roaded, these 2 tiles, but otherwise, that looks good. Of course, this needs to be chinampa'd. So we're going to need to have a chinampa right here, but we can't do that yet. But what we can do is we can start putting in our aqueduct over on this side. And this is going to be connected in over here, right? And that's fine. Eventually, we're not going to want it to be right next to the road like this, but the question is, how far out do we want that to go? Honestly, we probably want to do that here. So we can just work on chinampa'ing, like, any of this that is eligible to be chinampa'd. Like that. So we can get started on that. That'll be okay. We'll get this aqueduct brought in, but that will take some time. Okay. So that all seems good. And eventually, we're going to want to reach... Do we have a well dipper up over here? We don't. So all of this is fed from well dippers in here. Specifically this one and these 2. I'm not sure why we have 2 here. We've got this one here, and I would love to have a cistern like up here. It would be a little awkward to do, and we'd be giving up a lot of space. Like a whole lot of space. But we could put a cistern here theoretically. Like this. And then the aqueduct would come in kind of like this. That is a lot of space that eats up. But honestly, I'm not planning to expand down here too much. So that may not be a bad idea. Then we can do the same thing out over here with a cistern right there. And then an aqueduct just like this. And that'll connect into the aqueduct that's out over here. I'm actually going to change around the order of this. I like it like that better. Okay, so something like that, and then we can connect in this to our existing aqueduct network, and that will provide high-quality water out on this side, but it's not going to provide high-quality water over here. Some of this will have high-quality water already, but not enough. That's for sure. So, how are we doing out over here? Well, these homes have been upgraded. They want mostly ambience out over on this side. I'm not terribly surprised about that. Let's put a gardener in up over this direction. Gardener. Here we go. We can put a gardener in about here, and then we can start to fill out some of this with gardens, but this isn't going to be hugely photogenic over this way, no matter what we do. So we can do like 24 here, and then... This should actually be road here. There we go. Cool. And what else do we have for space? We can put one here. We can put some up over this direction like that and call that good for now. Okay, so that seems good. That'll boost the ambience over here, but that's okay. So at this point, we have 786 commoners and 777 jobs. So for now, we're doing okay on that front. So if we hop in here and we look at our prosperity, destitution is -4. Common housing is plus 45. Elite housing is plus 4. So I'd really like to get this house upgraded. It's really unhappy about its ambience. But there's really not too much we can do to boost the ambience other than move it away from these areas. That is something we could theoretically do. This is hurting us a fair amount, I think. So we could just move it out to an area more like this. It'd be a long move. They'd be a long ways away from their place of employment, but they'd probably like it a lot better out over this way. So if we put it like here, that would be a viable location. It would have access to at least most of these services. We can add more services up here if we need to. So let's move it on up there. And that'll open us some more space over here too, if we decide to use it for something. Oh, we've got quite a flood ongoing over here. That's okay. That'll help our clay. So that sounds great. So we're going to get these cisterns in here, and eventually... Oh, this bit of aqueduct got ruined. Okay. Eventually that'll be fine, but that means that we probably need to put in... I'm thinking somewhere around here, a mason yard. And then I'm going to do another mason yard about here, and then one about here, and then one about here, just to help out with keeping these areas repaired. The flood definitely did some damage down here. So we're going to have to repair some of these aqueducts. Not a big deal. We'll just get that in there for now. We could put some canal on the other side to help protect it. So stone canal out over here like this should do the trick for that, theoretically. And then we can just leave the stone canal like that, or we could bring it in this way, and I think that's probably the way that we want to go. So let's just do that for now, and that seems good. Some of this stone canal we might have a bit of a hard time reaching once the aqueducts go in, so we probably want to build the stone canal before we build all of this aqueduct, right? A lot of this over here we can reach. So that should be reasonably fine. We could put causeway out on this side of it as well. Or we could just chinampa this out over here and have it be reachable that way. So we can just make sure that we have this entire area here chinampa'd on this side. About like that. Seems okay. So we'll get going on that. We're net negative right now in our axe monies, but I don't expect that to be a long-term sort of thing. So this modest estate is still being moved. It's apparently going to take quite a lot of time. That's understood. So out over this direction, we've got our steam bath here. Where's the basin that feeds this area? I'm not seeing it. Oh, it's right here? That's not going to reach up here. So we are going to want an additional basin up over here. That is, of course, going to go in as a well dipper. I'm going to put that up on this side. Okay, something along the lines of that. And then we can boost the beauty of this area without any major problem. So that sounds good as soon as we get this modest estate built over here, anyway. So 130, 209, 60, huh? I mean, we've got this porter yard here, but we could put another one out over this way, and that might not be a bad idea. So just run some stone out over this way. Put in a porter yard right here. And that's going to be, for now at least, getting construction materials. Now, I'm assuming this guy can reach the large market. Oh yeah, for sure. Looks good. So we'll get that underway out over here. We can also connect up this road right here. Like that. I don't know how much closer that'll get this porter yard, but we should be able to get that built relatively quickly, in theory. But I really think it's this singular modest estate that's causing us a problem. We've got a modest palace here and here. It needs more diversion, specifically asking for an alcove or a ball court. Okay, if we were to put an alcove out over here, would that reach? No. But what we could do is we could take back these small gardens here, move them to go here, and then we could put an alcove here. And I think that's absolutely fine to do. So we're just waiting until these gardens get removed. They're half removed. One more. There we go. Terrain is blocked. What? Oh, there's still a garden here. Okay. Well, can we get in there and get rid of it? That'd be nice. There we go. Now we can slap in this alcove here. So this alcove doesn't reach this modest estate. That's understood. This guy wants ambience. Honestly, I don't know what all we can do to increase the ambience over here. Maybe get more gardens up over here? Maybe. But the alcove will at least help. So that's underway. Yeah, it doesn't actually have an alcove right now, so that seems okay. We should probably consider getting at least a little bit of housing out over this direction to get people into some of these jobs. I'm going to put in a single house here, just the one. And this is going to need access to a basin. It has this basin out over here, but that basin doesn't reach. So that's understood. We can absolutely put in a well dipper out over this way, and that should become a basin. And then I'm going to do a sweeper and a sentry post right here. There we go. Something about like that. So we need access to a market out over here. We've got this market, but we can put in a small market out over this way. We don't actually reach this market, it looks like. Yeah, it connects over here. So we're going to put in a small market right about here for right now. That's going to need to be fed by a granary. This one does reach, and this can feed it with pottery and cloth. So that actually seems fine. No major issue there. We still haven't managed to build this modest estate, but we do have the porter yard up over here, and hopefully that'll get these things done relatively soon. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. So we've got our market out over here now. We need timber to develop, and we'll have access to timber. That's not a big problem. So prosperity is continuing to drop at this point as we build additional housing. That's not very surprising, and we could actually use an additional house over here. Let's put in one. We're being pretty cautious with our house building right now because we don't really need that much more housing. We need to upgrade stuff. Unfortunately, this modest estate is just not being progressed. Hopefully that will change soon. That's the dream, anyway. This is probably long trip times that's causing that issue, but we'll see. So we need access to more security out over here. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, we still don't have enough commoners. I'm going to build one more home over here, although I'm just thinking about how we might want to fill these in. We can do something like this and take a stone road like that, and all of that will be reached by this basin. So that seems relatively good. Let's get that in there, and then this in here could be potentially gardens or something like that. Okay, so that seems relatively fine for right now. I would love to see this modest estate actually get progressed. We've got resources nearby, but for the time being, it's not going well. That's for sure. So, at this point, what else do we need? Well, a lot of our houses are very, very upgraded. They're not necessarily maximally upgraded. A lot of these just aren't close enough to their place of work. But I don't think we need that. I don't think we need it. So for the time being, we're still waiting on some of this aqueducting to get built down over here. We've actually got a lot of stuff that's queued up over here that is not being built at this moment. Oh, we missed this piece of aqueduct right here. Needs to be chanampad. Done. So we'll get that going. That'll be absolutely fine. Once that's done, then all of this can get connected up. That'll help matters a lot. And then these guys, they don't really have a path out, so we should probably make sure that we've got this going on. And then they're just trying to path out, like, right here, and we could just do something like this. Okay, so that'll be fine, and eventually we'll get all of this built up. So this is Stone Canal here. We do want to get all of this over here Chinampa'd, ideally, and we can see that that's definitely keeping the floods out. So that looks good. We're probably going to want to continue the canal up over this direction. So let's build some stone canaling out over here, and we just want to prevent the flooding. So let's just do something like this. I don't want to eat up too much of our land, right? So I want to not have to go out into the lake, but I also want to not really give up all that much land. So we can just bring this in something kind of like that, and then eventually we'll be able to remove these canals. Eventually. We can't really do that yet. So we'll get that underway. That seems fine. That'll prevent a lot of this flooding. So that'll be good. And eventually, this Chinampa here will be finished. It is 0% matured right now. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we'll see about dealing with some of these other problems. We're just really struggling to get our prosperity up right now. It's kind of wild. I really think it's due to our noble compounds. We want cloth up over here. That's interesting. I feel like we have cloth. Maybe we need additional cloth weavers. I'm going to put in a couple of them, and they are going to be, I think right up here is still a good spot for them. I'm going to just put them in right about one here, and I'm going to do one here. Just the two for right now. Okay, you can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.